All right, so welcome everyone. Good morning and welcome to your second conference session of the day today. My name is Kadina Kuntz and I am an academic advisor in the Exploratory and Pre-Professional Center at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. As we start our session today, Reach for the Stars, inspiring at-promise students to become fellowship applicants. Please keep in mind that live transcriptions are available and options for viewing those are found by clicking the small arrow on the live transcription button. You'll also notice today's session is being recorded, and with that in mind, please remain muted until called upon or asked to share by our presenters. Feel free to use the chat function or raise your hand feature if you have a question as well. At the end of the session today, please use the link that'll be dropped in the session, go.unl.edu, session 2, to leave our speaker with feedback, kudos, and just overall contribute to the selection for today's Best Session Award. It'll be open for about 15 minutes post-session. And now that we got some of the logistics out of the way, please use your reaction buttons to give a warm welcome to our session presenter, Courtney Santos. She is joining us from UNL's National and International Fellowship Office and will be sharing how to explore strategies for encouraging first-gen, low-income, and underrepresented minority students to see themselves as potential applicants for national and international awards and fellowships.
Thank you so much, Kadina, and good morning and welcome. I'm Courtney Santos. I serve as Director of National and International Fellowships at UNL, and as a first generation and low income transfer student, I completed a master's in creative writing. With my passion for storytelling, I learned to help faculty to write successful research grant applications. And eventually I decided to become a fellowship advisor to coach undergraduates as they develop lifelong grant writing and self-advocacy skills. So what is a fellowship? I get asked this question sometimes, and I think it's a good one. A fellowship is more than just a scholarship. It's a supportive community of scholar leaders with similar values and interests, sponsored by a university or an off-campus organization, such as a government agency or a nonprofit foundation. And they will provide fellows with the necessary resources for educational and professional success. Besides offering substantial funding, like partial or full tuition or living stipends, fellowship program resources might include mentoring, cross-cultural engagement opportunities, co-curricular leadership or research development programs, and spaces to maintain connection with peers and program alumni, such as housing or shared study areas or online communities. Fellowship opportunities tend to support deeper inquiry into one of three areas. There is some overlap between these. So research would certainly be defined as any original, innovative, or creative project. So it doesn't just include things that are done in a lab, which is sometimes not transparent to our students. Public service would include nonprofit or charitable activities, as well as government work, including teaching. Cultural engagement might involve travel and exploration or immersion into a group that's closer to home that wants to share cultural knowledge and activities like language learning. So whatever a student's passionate interest might be, there is a way to follow them to fellowship success. And it is possible to explore multiple of these interests at the same time. Today, through sharing real student stories, we'll learn strategies to identify potential fellowship applicants, and hopefully early in their trajectories, to encourage them to build a competitive profile. We'll also discuss how to encourage at-promise, which I'm defining today as first-generation, low-income, and underrepresented minority students. At-promise students specifically may need to build awareness of fellowships, discuss how to navigate university resources and opportunities to demonstrate excellence, like undergraduate research or experiential learning programs, and feel inspired by the success stories of others who have won fellowships so that they can envision themselves doing the same. Finally, we'll discuss how to articulate the value and impact of the application process and the fellowship experience itself for student professional development. By describing the benefits, we can encourage participation and encourage that students have opportunities to discuss why the experience is meaningful for them with a trusted advisor. Our first case study is Mark Nail. Mark majored in mechanical engineering and minored in computer science and business at the Jeffrey S. Rake School, an interdisciplinary computer science and business management honors program. Through participating in our McNair Scholars Program, he also began research at the Nebraska Intelligent Mobile Unmanned Systems, or NIMBYS lab. As a junior, Mark was named an honorable mention for the Goldwater Scholarship. He applied again, and he received the scholarship in his senior year. He was also named an honorable mention for the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship in his senior year. Mark is currently earning a PhD in robotics at the University of Michigan. As a political science, Spanish, and global studies major, Emily Johnson served as president of the Association of Students at the University of Nebraska, student regent, and an appointee for the Council on Inclusive Excellence and Diversity. At the community-based organization Lincoln Literacy, Emily also helped teach citizenship classes to immigrants. As a junior, her commitment to public service and leadership was rewarded with a Truman Scholarship. Seeking to deepen her understanding of Spanish language and increase her intercultural perspective, Emily also received a Fulbright English teaching assistantship for Spain. She plans to attend law school and to pursue a career improving immigration policy. Mia Aziza studied journalism and advertising and public relations with a minor in political science. As a writing consultant for the UNL Writing Center, she helped international students to develop their writing skills. And for her Fulbright English teaching assistant application, she chose the Southeast Asian nation of Timor-Leste because of its linguistic, cultural, and historical connection to her birthplace, Indonesia, and her native language proficiency in Bahasa Indonesia. Outside of the classroom, she planned to lead a student newspaper. Today, Mia works as a coordinator for the Office of Global Strategies and plans events like International Education Week. And finally, Diego Galvan was a first-generation college student in mathematics with a minor in physics. He volunteered for the Office of Academic Success and Intercultural Services, or OASIS, participated in the University Honors Program, conducted research with support from the Undergraduate Creative Activities and Research Experiences, or UCARE program, served as a treasurer for our chapter of the Pi Mu Epsilon Mathematics Society. As a graduating senior, Diego applied for and received the NSF Graduate Research Fellowship. Diego is currently working on his PhD in mathematics at the University of Texas at Austin. So let's discuss. These 4 students have different majors, life experiences, and future goals, but they also have a lot in common. In the chat, let's go ahead and respond to the question, what are some of the trends among these student success stories? Leadership and involvement on campus and in the community. Yeah, definitely. Very involved, highly motivated, engaged. Participation in undergraduate research, yes, especially for the students who applied to research awards. Desire to succeed. Long-term goals. They didn't always know their goal before starting the fellowship application, but they often found it along the way. It's part of the things that we can discuss together. Having passion, yeah, which helps them to discover those goals. A desire for continuing education and graduate programs. Yes, because many of the fellowship programs actually support those graduate study goals with the funding or will help students get prepared. These are some great responses. Thank you so much. One of the things that they have in common is participation in high impact practices. And so for us as advisors, we can think about what offerings our institutions have to offer that would be high impact practices. So certainly educational research has identified many such practices. We know that they can increase rates of student retention, engagement, satisfaction with the learning experience, and that the AAC&U actually promotes integration of these practices into the undergraduate experience. So certainly here at UNL, we have plenty of such practices, from first year experiences and learning communities to undergraduate research and capstone projects. And these forms of deeper engagement support our students in building a track record of achievement, which is important for fellowships, as well as deepen understanding of their own definition of leadership, which is different from person to person. Any creative production that they want to engage in might be a part of these practices. And certainly doing these things, especially doing multiple ones together, can position a student to become a competitive fellowships applicant, as well as to succeed more generally in careers and a graduate school and the things they want to do in their personal and professional lives. So I would encourage all of my students to spend at least some time, one semester or summer, engaging in researching capstone projects, serving and leading in organizations or projects outside of class, and working or interning in their fields. However, a student who's more interested in intellectual leadership paths, such as creating new knowledge and sharing evidence that helps others make decisions, should invest more time in engaging in research and sharing work through publications or presentations. If, on the other hand, I have a student who's more interested in starting a business or running a nonprofit organization, developing those leadership talents through service projects and internships is how they might invest multiple years of time so they can make wise choices, and we can certainly be a part of those conversations. If we meet a student early and build a strong relationship, we can help to encourage and affirm those decisions about deeper investments of time and energy and passion before the student graduates. International awards like the Fulbright U.S. Student Program usually are looking for additional evidence of a student's sincere desire and commitment to cross-cultural engagement. So if a student wants to undertake study or teaching work abroad, then coursework related to the student's goals for the study abroad program is a really good way to get started. Many students will also begin formal self-study or any type of study of a foreign language prior to travel. So that's something that they can engage in that helps them to prepare, and it does take some time, but it can be extremely rewarding. If a student also wants to do study abroad, some of the most important preparations might occur outside of class. So for example, interacting or volunteering with people from diverse cultures can develop a student's abilities to appreciate and share perspectives, to build relationships, and really prove their readiness to serve as a citizen diplomat or cultural ambassador on behalf of the US. Finally, study abroad for the first time can present many new challenges. So scholarship agency reviewers will seek evidence of personal traits like maturity, resilience, and good coping strategies. And so, especially with at-promise students, we can talk about their journey to college and the things that they're doing to navigate challenges that they're continuing to experience, and help them see the connection between their experiences and those sort of larger personality traits and strategies that will help them to succeed in a study abroad experience or other contexts outside of the university. At-promise students often have unique needs. They may lack awareness of campus resources and of niche opportunities like fellowships, as well as their options for long-term career and graduate school planning. So we can identify and eliminate barriers that might jeopardize an at-promise student's fellowship application, and thus deprive them of the benefits of the funding and the leadership development opportunities that are in the fellowship communities. So first, an at-promise student really needs to process a lot of information about campus resources and opportunities in order to navigate their options. Once retention goals are achieved, conversations with an at-promise student ideally move toward validating strengths and encouraging continued professional development. So if an academic advisor identifies a prospective applicant early, they can encourage students to develop awareness of the connection between their interests and advancement opportunities, such as research programs and fellowships. Though the student might believe this is reaching for the stars, you can share evidence already present in their trajectories that demonstrates that readiness to set these loftier goals. So that's a really great place to start from. There are other campus resources that students might use and that we might be able to encourage them to draw upon. So all students, including at-promise students, can be intimidated by conversation with faculty. In our Husker Power Survey results, we certainly see this, that one of the #1 challenges is finding connection with faculty. And yet, field-specific advice and reference letters from faculty are critical to success in applying to graduate programs and fellowship awards. Sadly, students are often wary of sharing these feelings and will delay asking for reference letters or advice until it's too late to avoid dropping out of a fellowship application process. However, we can proactively broach the topic of strengthening faculty relationships in our early conversations with students, normalizing office hours attendance, sharing strategies for building relationships, and expressing our belief in the student's ability to connect with a faculty member. This is very powerful. At-Promise students may also struggle to decide upon career goals or develop a vision for how they will advance beyond entry-level employment or articulate the type of impact that they want to have on society and issues that they care about. But through working with a career coach, they can connect with resources to deepen their understanding of professional paths, find internship opportunities, and research graduate programs. So this is a very positive students can take, hopefully either right before or early going into a fellowships process, and really think about those career goals and make those connections. Though any student might benefit from campus counseling and wellness resources, we should also be aware that at-promise students cope with unique challenges like imposter syndrome, working a lot of hours, or serving as parents or caregivers. So professional guidance can support these students and encourage their development of self-care and coping skills alongside their progress on academic and professional goals. So then we get to the fellowship advisor. What are the unique things that I can really do with a student to support all of these various goals? And so certainly if I meet with a student who has built self-awareness of their interests and belief in their own excellence, use resources outside of class to deepen their interests, develop their career and graduate plans, and cares for their own well-being effectively, then I believe they're ready to apply for fellowship. They have the self-knowledge and future vision necessary to match them up with specific awards. They have the confidence to imagine themselves among the success stories from the campus. And they have the time management skills necessary to plan their progress toward campus and external deadlines. Knowing their own strengths and vision, they can be full and active participants in discussion of rhetorical strategies to communicate their strengths in fellowship essays and interviews, which is really some of the most important work I can do with a student and some of the most rewarding for both of us. Since many of the fellowships are for students nearing graduation, at-promise student success in fellowship competitions is evidence of the success of our entire campus's ecology of support for their growth and well-being. So it's really evidence that we have provided a healthy resource culture to the student and really empowered them to move forward on future goals. All right, so some more questions for discussion. At the recent National Association of Fellowships Advisors Conference, educational researcher Dr. Jillian Kinsey spoke on how the process of applying for a fellowship under close mentoring is increasingly viewed as a high-impact practice. So let's discuss, what are some of the likely professional development benefits of applying for a fellowship? And again, you can pop your answers in the chat. Professional networking, yes. The ability to connect with the fellowship community and to be able to hone those skills. I see networking again. Identifying and communicating strengths, yes. Thinking through your strengths and then sort of matching them up with fellowship criteria is very powerful. Vocational clarity, yes. Really having that opportunity to talk through your career goals with somebody who wants to help you figure out your leadership ambitions and ways to move beyond the entry level. Experiential learning, yes, many of the fellowship programs definitely offer a lot of opportunities for experiential learning, from field trips to hands-on leadership development seminars, and even funding for additional projects that students might want to do for service or for leadership. Articulating goals, yeah, and feeling brave in doing so. Once in a lifetime experiences. Yeah, some of the resources aren't available any other way. Who else is going to pay you to go abroad for a full year? Learning how to navigate applications. This is also really important, just knowing how to manage a project and to stay motivated and to think about the different parts and how they work together and have a strategy for it. Yeah. Knowing how to navigate the information necessary to apply for a scholarship. job access. Yes, many of these programs place their alumni with very prestigious workplaces and do a lot of alumni engagement, continued professional development throughout their careers. Resume building, yes. Some of these names like Fulbright or Rhodes would be very powerful on a CV or resume in terms of signaling what a student's motivations and ambitions are. Validation of belief in their goals regardless of their struggle. And we know that validation is so important, especially for at-promise students. We actually are participating in a Pelias Center at USC research study about the role of validation in retaining, but also encouraging student excellence and continued professional development. So we know that the student's own belief, as well as the community's belief in their strengths, is very powerful. Those were great answers. Thank you so much. That was really awesome. So here's my own pitch for the benefits of participating in fellowships. So certainly throughout the process of applying and competing for fellowships, our students will strengthen their relationships with faculty and staff. They'll be able to connect their learning to their personal goals and have those opportunities to hone lifelong skills and prepare for graduate school. A fellowship application is also a student's moment to represent the academic excellence, innovation, and resilient mindset of their campus community to a national or international audience. And I think that's also really powerful for them to know that we believe in them to serve as that representative from the campus. And so if we nominate them for a fellowship, it's often very deeply meaningful to the student, encourages them to keep going. By applying to a prestigious fellowship, our undergraduates embody the hopes and dreams of supporters and mentors like you. And so their success stories will also inspire others to follow in their paths, including underrepresented and first-generation college students. So that's why it's so powerful to share these narratives from real students and to let the student know we believe we are among, that they are among those students who are truly ready to represent our institution and will be able to do so. So it's very valuable for advisors to be able to articulate these benefits to our students, as well as the ones that you shared with me today. I'm even going to work some of those ideas into my own pitch. I think that was actually really valuable feedback for me in terms of what you saw in the fellowships process. So thank you so much. We do have a few moments. If there are any final thoughts or questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Can I just ask my question verbally, Courtney?
Oh, sure.
For students that maybe had a rough first year or first semester, but have been on a really good trajectory in their sophomore year or early in their junior year, things like that, how do you kind of navigate that situation for students that may not have always been kind of on the pathway of having really high GPAs and so forth?
That's a really good question. So we do have a lot of fellowships that are GPA flexible. So the Fulbright and the NSF Graduate Research Fellowship are two that don't have a minimum GPA. There are some that do. So certainly I'll work with a student to see if they meet those minimum GPA requirements and talk through any options they might have for raising GPA. But really GPA is not all that any of the fellowship agencies are looking for. And so if we're seeing an upward trajectory to a student's grades, that is usually what the scholarship agency reviewers are going to look for. We know that lots of students have a rough time during a transition to college. There's also sometimes situations where a student might have something difficult happen to them. Many during the pandemic struggled with the transition to online learning. So that might have happened in their second or third semester or something like that. Or they might have lost a family member or had to take on a caregiver role. So if there's some context that we can provide to the scholarship agency, either through the student's essays or through, say, a reference letter or the university endorsement, certainly sharing that information can be valuable for the reviewers as well. But yeah, there's a lot of recognition that GPA is not the only measure of excellence, but that we really want to get to know the whole person through the fellowship application. That was a great question, Kadina. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Looks like we've got a couple in the chat. So for a student starting out at a community college, who should we contact at UNL to help them get started? Certainly once the student has decided to enroll at UNL, we're excited. If you want to reach out to my office and refer them, I am always happy to take referrals from transfer institutions. As a transfer institution myself, I know that sometimes just having that point person at the college to invite them into the fellowships office is really powerful. You can also share that information with our new student enrollment team. And so they can actually talk to the student during orientation programming about the fact that they were encouraged to do fellowships and so on. So those are a couple of different possibilities. How do you reach students, particularly at promise students? So sometimes they're not aware of these opportunities. Yes, this is definitely true, or they know and they miss the opportunity to apply. So one of the things that we're doing at UNL is that our career services team, which includes myself and undergraduate research, are working together with some of our programs on campus that directly serve first-gen students. So things like TRIO and McNair Scholars, OASIS, which is our cultural center on campus, the William H. Thompson Scholars and other learning communities, and other programs that are really doing a lot, like first-gen initiatives. So we do have a lot of ways of reaching these students through things like newsletters and presentations that we do with these populations. I also try to get a list of students who are Pell eligible from the financial aid office, so I can make them aware of opportunities that account for financial need, like the Gilman Scholarship, which is a great one to talk about with first generation and low-income students, and give them that opportunity to possibly fund a study abroad experience, but also get them connected to my office early and start encouraging them. It looks like we've got the session evaluation link. Kadina, can I do one last question, or are we out of time?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay, so what are some ways you have shared student success stories with others? Oh, presentations are very valuable because students can then ask follow-up questions. But sometimes I don't always have the opportunity to meet with students in person. And so I do try to, on my website, profile some student stories and testimonials that other students can see, to make video recordings for YouTube that include student stories. And also when I'm meeting with faculty and staff to share these stories as well. When students have the chance to hang on to a concrete example of someone who has really gone through this and been successful, or faculty and staff hear it, then we all know that our campus can compete in these fellowship competitions and really is able to inspire others to do the same, which I think is super powerful. So yeah, stories are super meaningful. Any way you can get a story out there, go for it. Thank you all so much for joining the conversation today. The presentation was recorded and my slides are also available online. And if you are a member of the UNL community or not, regardless, if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to me. It was so nice to meet all of you today. Thank you so much.